In the 1963 March on Washington, Martin Luther King Jr. stood before 250,000 people and delivered his I Have a Dream speech. In this speech, he states, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." We have failed to turn Mr. King's dream into a reality. Instead, organizations make sure they hire the right amount of whites, blacks, Hispanics, and Asians to not seem racist. Movies and TV shows are praised for including minorities in their productions, and people continue to support practices such as affirmative action for valuing race above merit. I would like to discuss why relying on race for anything is racist, and how focusing on the content of one's character is much more beneficial than focusing on the color of one's skin. We'll first go over the statistics on race. Next, we'll focus on the glorification of race and the negative effect it has on the people it targets. Finally, we will touch on the importance of the individual over the group. Racism is the belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority over a particular race. This definition can be split into 2 parts. Race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. I would say most people agree that the second part of this definition constitutes racism, but there are numerous examples in society that prove that many people do not consider the first part to define racism. When one makes use of statistics on race, the only thing one accomplishes is further driving a wedge into the relations between people of different skin colors. For example, when one focuses on the statistic that people with darker skin color are disproportionately murdered by policemen, it can cause one to make dangerous generalizations about certain groups when in reality it would be more productive to focus on specific cases of racism and solve these problems individually. Yes, there are a minority of policemen that have racist tendencies, but the majority are far from that. By addressing these issues individually, we can make progress in fighting against racism instead of labeling policemen as racist and therefore building more resentment against the organization that is designed to protect us. This way, we can take steps in the right direction and work towards fixing the problem instead of making generalizations about race and trying to find who to blame for the problem existing in the first place. Now that we have discussed the issues surrounding the use of statistics, let's talk about the issues surrounding the glorification of race. Glorifying race is another racist act. This year's Miss USA, America, Teen USA, Universe, and World were all black. Major media organizations, CNN, BBC, New York Times, and the Washington Post, all celebrated this situation on the basis of the victor's race. Celebrating someone's accomplishment because of their race is using race as a primary determinant of their traits. This defines racism. Not only is this act racist, but when people and organizations with influence act this way, they promote the idea that it is better to celebrate the color of one's skin rather than the content of one's character. Now that we have talked about the issues surrounding the glorification of race, let's move on to the importance of the individual. The only way to accurately characterize a person is by analyzing them as an individual. Any other method that does not prioritize the individual is racist. When one makes use of stereotypes or statistics to characterize a person, one is not able to get the truth about said person, but rather the truth of how a majority of the people in a group act. To go back to the topic of racism in the police force, I have seen an argument for the use of stereotypes, saying that the police officers have to stereotype in some neighborhoods to be safe, but I have to disagree with this argument. Not only is there no evidence supporting this argument, but what has been proven is that because some officers stereotype in these communities, the relationships between the people in these communities and the officers become worse. The people in these communities resent the police officers and call them the enemy, while the police officers treat the community members as potential criminals instead of human beings. Focusing on race statistics, glorifying race, or any act that prioritizes race is racist. Acting this way proves that one believes that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities. There is no reason to act in this tribal manner. I think it is important that we all share Martin Luther King's dream that our children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Black History Month, you find?
Ridiculous.
Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism until...
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man.